We're going to talk about density, and I'll qualify this by saying, as our model has started to shift over the last month or so, we're now kind of boiling it down mostly to just physical density and not talking about numbers of founders or mentors. I'm going to kind of put most of that in the talent side of this, so it's going to be a little bit squishy. What I want to tell you about density is that, guys, this innovation center is amazing. Like, you guys have a central destination, a place that people point to, a physical door for people to go, is this for me? The majority of places that I work with don't have this. There's a little co-working here, there's a guy's office over here, someone's borrowing, this is an amazing place. And what I'm going to tell you, and having witnessed this firsthand, is that there's a flywheel effect when you have a location, a destination, with a certain amount of density. By density, we talk about the number of people in our club, our tribe, compared to the number of professionals in the area. The distinct advantage that this place has is you're a small population, which means it's easier to create density. And we don't know what the number is yet, but there's somewhere like 1 to 7, 1 to 10. When there's one of us to 7 to 10 of just general professionals in the city, what happens is every lunch or bar, or it's easy for people to do events because they're all kind of in the area. That water cooler effect with people bumping into each other. Hey, how's it going? Hey, I just heard you raise money. Congratulations. By the way, how'd that work? How'd that happen? Hey, can we have a coffee? Density starts to build on that. So you don't actually have to do much other than make sure people convene in an area. Right now, it's a building. What I'm going to tell you is eventually guy has to be a neighborhood. Right? Because this building will be filled. At some stage, hopefully, Josh and Corey, their business will be too big to be here. And they'll take a half a building somewhere else. Who's going to fill that in? What's that? Cheers to that. Cheers to that. Just don't buy the building. I hate when entrepreneurs buy buildings. One man's opinion. I have to tell you, all my notes got screwed up. It's probably my bad. Density. We talked a little bit about founders. We need to increase that. Let's talk a little bit about mentors. There's a really good, solid group of mentors. But let me share with you a mistake I made when I look in the mirror. If either one of these guys, again, I'm just picking on them because they're front row and I remember them, came to me and said, listen, I have this problem with customer acquisition. How did you do this at MapQuest? I would say, I am not the right person to answer that question. Because the tactics I used 20 years ago have absolutely no relevance to today. Just because I'm a successful 15-year-old man doesn't mean I know how to help them in terms of customer acquisition. Actually, if I'm a first-time founder or I'm a year into my journey and I have a consumer software product, the best person would be Corey. Because the scars and the lessons he learned over the last 3 or 4 years are much more applicable to me as some super executive that happens to be 50-some years old and, right? So what happens in a lot of areas is we think that with age and experience makes for great mentors. But mentorship comes in lots of flavors and lots of packages. So one of the things I'd love to see here is that, and by the way, every single one of you is an expert in something as compared to somebody else. You have something to offer if you've had that experience. My tip to every entrepreneur is, by the way, if you're talking to someone and you're looking for advice, the first thing you should ask them is, have you ever been through this issue? If the answer is yes, double down. If the answer is no, you can listen to them, but I'm certainly not going to weight that advice equally with someone who's been through this problem. That doesn't mean you blow them off and you're mean. It just means you couch that, right? In terms of kind of community mentorship, everybody here is a potential mentor. If you sit on the network and you have a give first, you're there to help somebody. Maybe it's just make an introduction. Maybe it's just to listen to them. Maybe the thing that you'll share with them is just life journey stuff and evil in your brain. Or how do I acquire multiple customers? Or how do I do pricing, right? From functional little small things to something, right? Everyone has something probably they could help with. So let's not just think of mentorship as 57-year-old, I just turned 58, sorry, 58-year-old, I blew it, old white men, right? We do have something to offer, we don't have everything to offer. So we need to make that bigger. I think I'm just gonna bag the notes. Like they're all out of order. I think I screwed something up, Lexi, I'm sure. All right, so going forward, recommendation. This is not something you have to worry about tomorrow, but in the near term, and I don't know where this sits from when I was here in August, September, but we need to keep using this. You guys should be putting all your meetups here. You guys should convince other people to take space if the space isn't filled yet. We need to point to this destination and let this start to kind of spin and flywheel on that. In a perfect world, if I was playing kind of a Monopoly or kind of, physical space czar, I'd like to take some of the other kind of startup or mid to early stage companies in the area and convince them, if not room here, somewhere close by. I want to make it so that when I go to lunch, I run into people just like me. And some of it may need a little bit of coordination and maybe even a little bit of help from the city. But you guys got to start thinking about what comes next after this building. Because if it's going to continue to grow, what I don't want is another building 3 miles from here. That's like cutting the baby in half. Nobody wins, especially the baby. The idea of density is like a little secret kind of a superpower for small to medium-sized communities, right? So let's make sure, right, we figure out how to be smart. It's the one area that I think a little bit of coordination can be helpful. So start thinking about neighborhood.